allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. This is our special meeting, but now we will close that special meeting and go into the public hearing. Call to order on the policy changes to the Port of Allyn water system policy. The purpose of this hearing is to discuss with possible action on the policy changes for development rates, fees and involved with the Allyn water system, setting criteria on fire flow policy, setting criteria on commercial development policy, and then public comment on the water policy.
Okay.
Okay.
May I recommend that you offer public comment for discussion as well?
Sure. We'll hear public comment on the water policies, and we'll do it again.
Are you asking us?
Yes, we're providing you an opportunity to comment on anything you see before we start to talk about anything. And then you'll also have a chance to comment after we talk.
Okay, this is the policy in my handwriting?
Yeah, there's two separate, one's a form that's attached to the policy. It's more of a flow chart for the contractors to be able to understand the fees that they're being charged in the Port of Allyn when you're doing hookups and such.
Yeah.
It's we found it a little chaotic in the original policy. We tried to find something where we could create one document that was easily flow through the timelines of how it works.
Okay, thank you.
So as Travis suggested, we just, if anybody had any public comment before we actually engage in the discussion and then have, again, further public comment, it's open for that now, or you can just wait, whatever you want to do.
Well, the only thing I'd say is that, this is a start.
Yeah.
I'm working with Travis to identify segments of the port's policies that, don't fully support, at least this time, to this point, haven't really supported the commercial development issue. And to clarify different points that seem to be in conflict with each other. And this is not the alpha and omega of policy.
Yeah.
It's just to begin addressing chunks of your policy, and to, I see at least probably several of these, at least minimally, through the process. Because there's a number of different aspects. Some affect Department of Health, but in this case, most of these affect the issue of making the fee structure and the connections in sync, as well as supporting the cost the port, incurs in bringing services and putting in the infrastructure and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I would agree. And this is just the beginning of discovery and things that we need to adjust. And I appreciate the work you put into this to help us understand those changes that we need to start addressing.
Yeah, and thank you for your work.
Yeah.
Another comment.
Yeah.
On notification of this meeting, how is it done and who is it notified to?
So it's provided in the paper of record at the Mason County Journal. At least 5 days before, but no more than 15 days, I believe, before the meeting takes place. This is about the 15th day.
And our website.
And our website. You can just go to our website and look at the meeting documents, and you'll always find those posted and available at least 24 hours before the meeting takes place.
So Mr. Smith around the corner would know about this meeting.
Well, Mr. Smith around the corner, if they were a water customer, like when we sent out the water billings, you got a notification letter in there about the meeting.
Okay.
So that's something that we provided extra that we don't have to do, but we wanted to make sure everyone who purchases water with the Allyn water system had the right to be here.
Got it.
Yeah, yes.
One other thing on the back, in referencing a number of other water systems, mostly larger than the Port of Allyn, such as the Port of Shelton, Port of Bremerton, West Sound, and others. Factors are all over Hell's Half Acre.
See that last part?
Factors, pricing
Variety.
factors are all over, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's my thing of saying that. They give rules or, guidance, but, I'm pressed to figure out how they're factoring. Like when you're factoring fire flow, because I know what's supposed to be happening. There's a water district or port or, municipality is supposed to be covering their expenses and putting some money away for, capital improvements later on and so forth. And I try to give them my best effort going through these. I do not see exactly how they're coming to,
So there's no real formula.
they're supposed to be, but it doesn't work. If you look at the Shelton, it doesn't match up. If you look at Port of Bremerton, excuse me, the city of Bremerton, it
Mhm.
goes a different way. And, the Association of Waterworks or something like that, American Waterworks Association, there we go. They have some guidelines. But I'm pressed to see how the various water districts and the water utilities around here of any size are actually, following those factors.
Now, the American Water Works, that's government, I mean, is that state?
To the Oregon, nonprofit or.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But it's, it's dealing obviously with the.
Okay.
Business providing water, for municipal use.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about water policy amendments. There's been changes. Thank you, Jeff, Travis, for going through this. And hopefully everybody has had a chance to get one, take a look at some of those changes. If you have any questions or comments, feel free. That's what we're here for.
So I could start off by.
So we're
summarizing
recessing the
a little
special
bit.
meeting?
No,
Okay,
this is still
okay, got it.
public hearing.
I could summarize a little bit of these provisions that have been set forth, provision A, B, C, D.
Okay.
A is basically to take care of the residential development rates and developer and engineering requirements, so there's a second addendum, it's the form 2024-DS01. That is addressing provision A to create a schedule and a flow step-by-step procedures for builders so that they understand how the charges come into place and what the charges will be before they even begin, and understand that they have to actually provide us a plan.
Yeah.
Before they begin with engineering,
Okay,
or they have to pay the port at prevailing wage to have the engineering done, so that we have that plan available to us, so that we know that what they're proposing is going to work. So we've had a chance to review it, or our satellite companies have a chance to.
okay,
And then provision B and C kind of go into our light commercial and moderate commercial developments. Just those are also detailed in our already approved water policy manual. But those, of course, will have additional changes going forward as we are able to monitor the actual usage and that average daily demand.
mhm,
If that average daily demand goes beyond a certain threshold, we have to reevaluate it because it's putting a strain on the water system. It's really about how much is actually being used versus just a blanket, you have a connection, you use water.
Okay,
Going down to provision C, which is a very important aspect because we didn't have anything to address fire flow. There was nothing to address fire flow. It just was mentioned about 10, 15 times without any
criteria.
basis or criteria. This actually gives a starting criteria for us to move forward. Also, we figured that, because Mason County is adopting new building code, fire flow is going to be required even at the residential level, not just the commercial level. We don't feel, or at least Jeff and I don't feel, that it should be an additional charge to connect with the fire flow. You would have to pay the development costs of connecting to the fire flow.
Right.
All right, but it's not you wouldn't pay a certain amount into the water system.
Right.
Because you're probably at this point, you're going to be installing your entire water meter with your fire flow. So it's all happening at the same time. So it isn't an additional development cost that's paid to the Port of Allyn, just the normal development costs that are already in the system.
Well, another factor with that is that in a fire service connection, it's not counted against your adequacies in the number of connections the port has. And part of the whole rate structure, which is not fully fleshed out yet, but part of the whole rate structure is based upon your the port's capacity and how many connections, the infrastructure you have.
Okay.
And so since water for fire service is only, on test basis and, an actual fire. There's just a minor fee for the connection. Because there is gonna be a responsibility point where the port has a responsibility at a certain point to a demarcation point. And if things go bad, you need revenue that eventually takes care of that.
I have a curious question on that. So God forbid there's a fire.
Right.
They tap into that. It draws directly from the tank, correct?
Yes,
The tank at some point is not infinite. It's gonna, right?
right.
And I realize that they use due diligence on managing use of water because it's also causes other problems. But if it happens and it becomes such an issue that they have to, we don't have the flow that comes directly from down underneath to keep up with that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that was a curious question.
The basic requirements of the port's water system is that for the fire marshal is that you need 90 minutes, I don't remember, it's 1,000 or 1,200 gallons a minute.
Okay.
But basically you have that capacity. It's statistically, there's, as you're going up and down, the tank
Okay.
draws as people use it and then it goes back up. There are obviously moments at time probably that it's a little shy by a few thousand gallons, a couple thousand, but generally speaking, you will have in 90%, 80% of the cases, have the required gallon to service it for 90 minutes.
That's good information.
So
Yeah, it's 144,000 gallon tank.
total, yeah.
Yeah.
But you have like about 6,000 working and then it gets real funny after that, when I say funny, more technical. And like I've mentioned in a couple of meetings, the first cut of the 136 makes sense. All the calculations make sense.
Yeah.
When you go to another pump, what they put in your plan, I can't make it make sense using the state's figures and, the formulas,
Mhm.
but that's not our problem at this point.
Okay.
The issue is, within your 136 or actually 132 plus the 4 of the port, as long as you're within those rates, that's the deal.
That's enough time for them to bring tankers in and everything else. So I
Yeah.
get it.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, yeah, provision E basically addresses that we, have to charge a monthly fee for the actual fire flow connections, which is significantly lower than the standard fee, and we don't have any multipliers attached to them currently.
Okay.
So we would want to be able to, once some of these are installed, get a feel for what it's actually rating on the system, which fire flow won't drain on the system unless there's a problem. And at that point, we're
And these connections,
we hope that we have enough flow to take care of it.
and these connection fees are on this
Yes,
policy.
yeah,
monthly fire
yeah,
service support.
these are, monthly fire service report. This is, for residential, a 1-inch line or 5/8 line, up to a 1-inch line is a $15 a month charge. But then there's no, metering on that.
Yeah,
If there was a fire, then we wouldn't meter it anyway.
right.
It would just be what it is.
Yeah.
And then we go to light commercial, the rates are literally relatively the same. In fact, I think they are the same.
Mhm.
And then when we go to moderate, what we call almost, up
Commercial
to
moderate.
30,000 square feet, they go up about, looks like $5 to $10, unless you have an 8-inch connection, which is a massive amount of flow.
Yeah,
I mean, an 8-inch connection, open and free flowing is like we just broke a main. It's a lot of flow.
A siphon.
But this also ties in and gives you the fact that, if once the connection is, they're gonna establish a connection, if they haven't chosen the self installation option with their own licensed contractors, they would have to pay the tapping fee, pay for the valves, the backflow preventer, the freeze vault, all the various parts that go into providing a fire service support connection. But then, like when we have actual connections installed, we're not charging that $1,500 development fee for it. It's all wrapped in.
okay, that's good.
So basically, the end user is only paying for the installation of fire flow connection and then a small monthly fee attached to their bill. Moving forward, we're on provision F. Provision F has a lot to do with average daily demand. Yeah.
And that's for a commercial, moderate. commercial,
Right,
okay.
moderate commercial, because, we want to make sure that we're not overcharging, but we also need to know that we're not undercharging. So the idea is that, if they can stay under that 1152 gallons per day, that we don't have to really reevaluate it. If they're over, that, then we do have to reevaluate it because it's a massive drain on the system, but we could evaluate it at a percentage basis going forward.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So the factoring, so everybody understands, is that the port has designed a system to a certain size.
Okay.
And in theory, well, it's not exact, but in theory, the collection you're getting for your connection fees for water adequacy cover all, it's through 132 connections. So that you have, the port has the funds to not go out on grants or loans or what have you, and build the next set of infrastructure, tanks, or, wells or whatever.
Mhm.
And so just that understand, so when you look at something commercially and you see it much higher, understand that you were designed for 136 connections. So if you have 100 residential and 1 commercial that uses the equivalent of 36,
Yeah,
it's got a balance.
and this 1152, how does that equate for ERUs?
That's actually about 3.
Okay,
But it gets, I didn't want to make.
Yeah, too
a bunch of
confusing.
work for the board,
right,
and we're not seeing, I don't think we're seeing any of that at this point
yeah,
in the system.
right. Okay,
And then that just leads down to that, the SDF multiplier, which is your, system development fee multiplier. It's based off the guidelines of the American Water Works Association for safe operating capacity. And then we track down to the commercial potable water consumption rates, and you'll see those multipliers attached to different size lines, because the higher that, the larger that line gets, it's exponentially how much flow can actually go through it. But what we're saying is that we would want to every 6 months go through and look at the numbers of how much flow is actually going through there.
mhm,
And if we needed to, we could go back and make modifications by having another meeting.
I have a-
Another hearing to say, wait a minute here, that's not what's happening in this situation.
Okay.
And this is really only for, commercial, entities. It's not for residential entities.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't really tie in there.
Okay.
what would dictate the size? Like the 1.5 inch meter, as opposed to the 3 inch meter? Is it
It
the,
would
the
be
demand of the
the
size of the-
engineering that's provided for the size of structure.
and the kind of structure?
Right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, all right.
Doesn't prohibit somebody if they want.
Yeah, somebody else.
To
If
up
somebody
it,
wants to up the
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
But usually it's designed by the engineer sign off that way.
In addressing these policies like this, it shouldn't be a big flag. It should, we have to do this because they're signing on, understanding that this is,
I'm gonna intent. that Travis and I were trying to work towards is that. Everybody wants something for less.
sure,
It's in the ports and it's part of the rules for water rights. To efficiently use the water rights you have. If party A can use less in their operation and consistently use less, then the port should reward it. I don't mean retroactively, but at least for that point forward,
yeah,
correct,
to take a review. And we're trying to look at both sides of the coin, because we're saying, okay, if they're saving, let's reward them. If they're really using more, then we need to address that, because again, you have this limit
sure.
of 136 before you update other things, so.
well said, that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
Anything else on E, I mean F?
I don't think so. gist of it.
And provision G,
Provision G is because we, of course, have literally zero policy on long-term medical facilities. Because we never dreamed that there would be one until one decided is going to happen. We need to get a handle on how that affects the structure and the size of our water system and how
Okay.
much capacity we can offer in the future for also other home builds. So we went off of state guidelines for elderly care facilities with a rated use of 100 gallons per day per bed. And then they also have staffing requirements for how much extra gallons per day based on the staff that is there, either for 8-hour shifts or also nighttime shifts. Because you have less nurses per bed at night as you do during the day. And then these are pulled from the RCW 74.72.360 adequate staffing.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a grand total of 106.38. So it only went up from 100 gallons per day per bed, 6.38 gallons per day
Okay.
in usage. And we feel that that is a pretty good minimum, like we're comfortable with this to start with as the how much development it's going to take away from the system. So that is also, we use that number in accordance with a factor for ERUs to
yeah,
determine how many ERUs are actually going to exist. Now, the county uses 0.6 for when it comes to the outflow on the sewers.
okay,
Okay, so water in, water out. Well, water in is getting consumed, it's ending up in people's bodies, it's various other stages of not getting to the outflow. So we don't feel that that should be a lower number, technically. From our calculations, we came up with an ERU per bed of 0.372, which is considerably less than what the county came up with. But we're comfortable with that in the water system plan. And it's the standard adopted by the state of Washington is 350 gallons per day per ERU. And the Port of Allyn has determined with factoring using the DOA approved water system plan of 2018 that 285.6 gallons per day per ERU is the observed standard going forward in the Port of Allyn water system. The water system figures with factoring show that each bed equals 0.372 ERUs. So that would be based on per bed.
okay,
And then we do charge for commercial connections from policy $6,550 per ERU. So there, that example there is long-term medical facilities with 35 beds is planned within the Port of Allyn water system. To obtain water adequacy required for permitting, developer property owners would need to reach step 2 in Form 2024 DSO1. The Port of Allyn would calculate 35 beds times the ERU factor for long-term medical facilities. 0.372 would come out to 13.02 ERUs. If we are using the standard for the county, it would be nearly double that.
Yeah.
okay.
And an ERU is basically based off of 2.7 bedrooms.
I was
Not
gonna
even-
say,
Yeah.
This ain't funny, but I'm laughing.
Yeah, yeah.
This is crazy, man. I'm laughing, but it seems like I understand it. You guys didn't have anything to go on.
Yeah, we had to create policy for nothing.
Exactly.
But we do have state guidelines that produce us numbers to work with to create that number.
I take that as a compliment, yeah, because he's splitting hairs on exactly what we have and how we move forward from here.
Oh, man, my hair curly.
I think that's a natural curl.
Yes, right.
well,
Things. But sure, I think compared to what the county's doing, it's extremely beneficial. I intend, I've been saying this also, currently, to hook up to the sewer, you're looking at, $320,000. What they've done with this, it's not uncommon to find cutaways and specific things that you try to do things with the system. For example, for multifamily, it may be 0.7 argue this is what we've allowed for multifamily. I'm hoping that, because of all the work you guys have done, I'm hoping that maybe our county can consider a cutaway for the North Bay, for hospitals, assisted living, memory care, to take that same number instead of 0.6 to go with the 3.7. It'd be beneficial for hookup costs, and it would make sense to ask for that because we want the service.
Mhm.
Just like we want multifamily, we want these types of services, so having a lower rate than what the county has on it for the specific cutout might be a good idea, so I'm just like, I'm hoping that if you guys pass this, I'm hoping to take your example and take it to the county and have them look at it also.
Well, what we noticed as well is that even the DOH standards is lower than what Mason County is using. They're using like 360 some odd gallons per day.
But Belfair has 150.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of people.
And our original numbers was like 168 or something like that for a full house. Yeah, not per bed.
So, yeah, with all the hard work that you're seeing that they're putting into this, that they're giving us giving us the information we need to make an informed decision. I like to think that we're gonna come out even stronger to the point where we're gonna be setting the example on how this should be approached for a lot of other entities, if you will. I mean, that's how we come out.
And then what we're adding, let's say when they're working, this is me.
Yeah.
Trying to set in motion also that this is, because people look at it and say it's arbitrary, okay? And we're trying to put in position, again, the ability to be reduced, especially in larger commercial enterprises. Where if parties are using less, it's in the port's benefit to charge less and get more connections, because it affects that's more revenues that come in on the connection side, so. I didn't see, when I looked at a number of water systems, probably a dozen different water systems, I don't see that consideration
To customers.
to either residential or to commercial, in any of them. And what we're hoping is that, not that we want to set standards per se for the rest of the water, but to give a viable way for people when they want to set up businesses and what have you, in Allyn, at least under the port's water system, a viable way to motivate people to stay there. At the same time, be reasonable, and yet the port get its funding back. So they can do the next expansion without. No more loans, no more grants, no more. I'm sorry. I got it in my head that we're not going there again,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I think what's tough, I mean, because we want to see the memory care come in, but we also know things are expensive. I think that's the hard thing. But we also have to make up for things that haven't been done right. I mean, so thank you for doing all this work, at least getting the policies nailed down correctly.
We're used to start, it's a start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Ron Jamerson.
Okay, well, I
And Deborah.
appreciate your input. And Deborah, got it.
And they run Haven and Allen.
What's that?
They run Haven and
Okay.
Allen.
I had not met them before.
Yeah.
So then we have provision F, and it basically establishes that, this is fluid. This is over the next 24 months, many details will be reworded, reorganized in a more fluid manner. This is just a first take. Like Jeff was explaining, there's that water policy manual is literally this thick. And a lot of it is just engineering,
Mm-hmm.
but the policy, the way that it was written down, it jumps around a lot.
Yeah.
And you don't really, you have to go back here, go 20 pages forward to see something that really ties in with what you just read. And we would like to, at some point, we'll probably even have somebody else review it.
Yeah, I helped the
Which is
cable.
another thing that we will have is we will make sure that our satellite company spends a few minutes looking over this and making sure that we don't need any kind of DOH approval. Now, we don't feel that we do because it's really not, it's policy driven for rates. It's not Department of Health,
And it
dangers of health.
the kind of the rule for whether it's DOH or just satellite management agency is as long as we're staying within the plan and the policies we're putting in place support the plan
Mm-hmm.
as written, even if we disagree with the plan at this moment, you know, pieces of it, at least they're, both my feeling and, Northwest Water's feeling is that, that would be a review by them. And that'd be it. If we had changed something on how, you know, usage or, you know, that would be different than the state standards or the plan standards, then that would go through them to, you know,
We're addressing the pertinent things that need to be addressed now as we move through and
with
begin.
your current
Current
plan.
policy.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
There's things in the plan that have to be addressed over the next
Okay.
24 months.
got it.
At big time, I mean, because of just things, how people document it, and as I've mentioned before, lack of oversight of
Mhm.
Forest engineers from another third party. I'm not saying I'm that party, but some party.
Got
Yeah.
it. That gives us, basically some really good direction. You know, we'll continue to look at policy, but then we're gonna need to look at the plan. And then what he brought up is the end game, really. Once we get there, and that's gonna take time. And then the end game is having a healthy table of contents, an index where things aren't redundant and they're addressed properly. But that's a big task, and that will be done eventually.
Randy?
Eventually, though, on this commercial aspect, we may have to do it as a separate thing. The reason why is regardless of all this other stuff, as Jeff will tell you, you're still backed up by the RCW requiring you to set your rates and such accordingly, so that it'll pay for maintenance, operation, perhaps reserve and debt repayment. Those have to be covered some way, unless you have another fund that will offset it. You can throw into the mix, like for the county, we had, you know, some other types of refunds we could use. In 2009, we had different ways we could do that. But you have to be able to show that according to RCW.
Yeah.
So you're going to be caught with that, but you're allowed to have certain exemptions. And that's what we've done at the counties, like I said, it's multifamily. So if you get caught in the middle where the state or somebody is saying, that's an issue. You just might have to remember it as a separate cutaway, but it's fixable. That's the thing about it. Once you set your policy here, it is fixable.
What do you mean a separate cutaway?
An
Separate?
exemption. For example, in Mason County, we have a set ERU rate. But if you have multifamily, we created an exemption for multifamily that would allow us to be charged at 0.7.
Oh,
Typically for multifamily.
Okay.
only. So you may be able to have, if they come back at you and say that you have to be at the state standard.
Mm.
Mhm.
The policy, you can still perhaps give an exemption to stay at the 1 or the 3.7, I think.
Yeah, 3.7.
To keep it low like that in order to entice new development such as these specific, every community needs hospital medical.
Right, and we do want to encourage and entice that. Okay.
And remember that 0.37 is actually state. In this case, it's one case where we had a state figure that we could plug in. So that should cover your bases. On this.
Yeah.
On this.
Okay.
So.
Was a lot here. Comments? Anything?
No, appreciate it. Come on.
I am trying to understand, because I never ran into this before, and it never got brought up before. You
Yeah,
know, as we've been doing this, so, you know, we just didn't start. And Travis called us saying, long story short, you know, introducing himself, wanting to talk and understand what we were doing. And then that's where working with our architect, working with the contractor, working with the Port of Allyn, lot of going back and forth, right? So they give us a bill for $25,000. We pay the $25,000. We get, I think, a water connection letter. We get something, whatever it is that we get, right? And then Travis says, first he said, what did you guys pay that for? And no, I mean, we're just doing what first development process for us. And of course, is exciting kind of first commercial big developmental process, maybe, I don't know, because we do have island food.
They don't make fruit no more. That's just an empty building.
Okay, but they
Yeah.
were here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
big
they were.
commercial way
Sure.
before that even got here. Before, you know, this is coming up. So anyway, So then this is the first big commercial endeavor in the city. And so now you guys are saying, well, we really didn't have policies. We didn't really have things backed down. So we don't know, we didn't really know what to charge you. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
now
what I said, I don't know what you and Larry had worked out, or you and Leanne. I have no basis because I don't have any documents that say that they sent you an invoice.
Oh, we got
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we really need to sit down and talk and figure out what all that was, because I don't have any frame of reference, because I can't ask.
Got you. Okay. Well, we didn't work out like a deal, like a.
Sure.
table deal.
And-
We just did what they told us to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know, like.
And what I did was with this form 24 DSO1, that is directly pulled from our existing policy that was actually enacted in 2018.
Okay,
There isn't any changes to that.
okay,
The only changes is the fire flow scenario.
okay,
So but for development fees and like we're supposed to have engineering from you before we actually approve being able to give you a water adequacy letter.
and we have engineering, we got
Right.
all that.
And you know, and we just need to sit down and have that conversation, get all that information, and then this form right here just details what was already in the policy.
Okay,
So the 25,000 that you paid, it doesn't equate to anything in our policy.
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
why
it's
did you- why
possible
did
that-
they do that then?
Well, it's possible that Larry, not to throw him under the bus, but he didn't follow policy at that time. So,
Minute, we come over and say what to do, and you guys told us what to do,
Yeah, we did.
and we did it.
go ahead.
One thing to keep in mind, I've been behind on some of this stuff as well, they're not throwing you under the bus.
No.
It's
They
the
put Larry
We're
under
not-
the
No,
bus.
but no, even then, it's the opposite, what they're telling you is, from what I've conversation, they're gonna look at everything, they're gonna try and help you and still follow through with what was ever said and
Okay.
promised. They're gonna try and take care of you, and they've been trying to protect you from the very beginning in the conversations I've had, so just know they're not your enemy.
Okay.
They-
We're not, we don't,
Thank you.
we don't think you guys are in
Yeah,
it.
they-
Yeah.
So-
Believe me, we don't think you guys are enemy,
Oh, well, we have
but
to
just sit
leave.
over there.
It's a lot.
No, I
Just sit over
understand.
here.
Yes, and-
So-
and they want you to be here, so there's gonna be a lot of conversations.
Okay,
And
Yeah.
what I-
and then
No,
we'll bring you
absolutely.
everything that we have.
Sure, and you know, we can sit down and
And
we
then
can
we can
figure
understand.
things out a little bit better, but what we have to do is we make sure that we have to protect the entire water system from we're being able to pay for itself.
And they have to follow.
Yeah.
so we're taking the playing field and we're creating consistency with it. That's all we're trying to do. So that our policy is adhered to, but at the same time, you're not gonna have anything to worry about. All I can say is what we're trying to do, and I appreciate you coming to the meeting so we can have this discussion. And to make it clear, we are moving forward in a positive way, in a good way. Where we even better understand the policy.
Okay,
It's quite extensive, right? We have our work cut out for us to be fair to you and anybody else that comes in to develop anything.
what happened to Larry?
He
Larry
passed
did-
away
Passed away.
What happened to Leah?
He passed away.
Christmas Day. So, and then we had a commissioner quit, right? So that's what and so when I bring up that we're gonna come out of this stronger, is because we're getting into the meat of it. And we're trying to move ahead without any hiccups. We're not looking back. We're focused on what we're supposed to be doing for you and the rest of the community. We're totally focused on that. So this is a positive thing, not a negative thing. I'm serious.
I think I should state one thing, and Brandon and I have talked about when we've been working the budget a little bit, what have you, is that realizing that the policies were not followed, but the board's, not speaking for the board, but the whole that's that we're all gonna have to come together on this whole thing and look at what was committed to.
Yeah.
And if
Exactly.
it is, that's gonna stand. In other words, if the $25,000 thing, depending on how it's structured, is it, that's it.
Yeah,
We're-
I agree.
That's it. At the same time, there were, and hasn't been covered with anybody, there were no water rates for any commercial facility. For another consumption.
Yeah.
There was just a connection rate for
Yeah.
commercial connections,
Right.
which was based off an ERU. So whatever your building's ERU base is, would have been in our policy times by that ERU, which the county says is 0.6.
Okay.
which is
I know.
it's really bad.
I know it is. Yep.
And I'm sure you've already dealt with that back and forth, and even the builders up here are dealing with it back and forth. They're having huge problems with that.
And the port, you know, when we're figuring this out, all the port had about your connection was roughly where it is physically. That there's a 2-inch line that feeds the premise, and then there's an 8-inch fire flow line that, you know, feeds fire flow for whatever reason. Whether that's the right size, we don't know, we have no idea.
Yeah.
It, you know,
Yeah, we would have to see
Yeah,
the engineering
yeah.
and the reasoning behind
We
that.
have a building permit.
Yeah, no, and I'm fully aware of it.
Yes,
Right.
Yes,
absolutely.
Okay, you can get a building permit with all that stuff.
Well, you could, yeah, you couldn't get, yeah,
Yes, you can get a
You
building
probably
permit.
have all that.
Oh, yeah, since I have a good contractor and a good,
Yeah.
architect.
right, and I believe, the full intent when, you paid the 25,000 was so that you could get that water adequacy to start the permit. Now, I don't, because we've got people who have passed, I mean, all we know, all I know is we took $25,000.
Okay,
And it doesn't equate to any kind of invoice
Gotcha.
or
okay.
anything, it's just in our accounting system as a payment from,
Okay.
I got one.
yeah, no, and then.
So you're gonna, in essence, you're gonna help us get there too, you know, by getting together with Travis, okay?
Yeah,
So it's,
but it sounded like.
You're gonna be
y'all
okay.
said we made a deal. Well, I don't think.
No.
No, we,
not like that.
I make a deal.
right, it's just a matter that you paid an amount, you got a receipt.
Yeah.
And then you got that water adequacy, which was provided by Northwest Water, and then you just went with it.
and where we go from here, okay? That's,
Okay.
that's
And
all.
individually, each one has expressed to me over and over again that they wanna work with you, help you to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need- we need that.
Never said anything opposite.
Done that.
Cause we have responsibility
We need that.
fiduciary for the whole community, right? So you'll produce that, you'll get together with Travis, and then we'll move forward from there, and it is what it
Okay.
is, so.
Okay,
You're not, there's no concern, I don't believe at all,
okay.
I
yeah,
don't,
yeah, well, we need them,
we need
we
them
need
though.
it here.
No, we're arguing about water rates, we go there.
Not yet, come on. Okay,
Okay,
Alright.
any comment more on the water policy?
Do we
Yes.
have a water tank? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, we have a big water tank. It's right at the top of Wade Street,
Up there,
just past Bonnie Knights.
You
Go
go
all the way
down-
up that road, it's right at the top.
See,
the
Yeah.
top of the.
This meeting being recorded,
Yes,
Of course.
where do I need to stand so I'm recorded?
I will provide the passcode to Dietrich at Mason County Web TV.
He was wondering where to stand. Do you want me to stand up there?
Oh.
Or will it catch me from here?
I know.
will it hear?
Yeah, it can hear you.
Okay, Ken Van Busker, I live in Belper, I'm not, a water user, Port of Allen water user, but I am a taxpayer in the Port of Allen district. And after listening to this discussion, I think it would be premature to adopt this resolution today. And I'm gonna suggest that you work on discovering what happened to these folks' money and what sort of arrangements can be made to ensure that they get what they need. And I see that you're set to interview the 3 candidates Friday for the vacant position. And I wonder if you consider tabling the resolution until after that 3rd person takes a seat at the table so that they can be involved with this as well. That's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
One
Okay.
question for you, if I may.
Sure.
Well, why do you suggest you're not giving us a reason why we should table this until after we have another commissioner?
I think you should have 3 commissioners. at
That's the
table.
reason, okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
another question.
Yeah.
Since it's open, right?
Yes,
Yeah, yes.
So commissioners and you 3 are the one that adopt this.
I don't actually adopt anything. I just give them the information and then they choose to go
But
on it or
then
not.
it's
go on
up to the commission. and
That's correct.
commissioners who are
That's
correct.
to adopt.
It's a good question. So Travis is the interim director
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
we're there, the third
I
commissioner,
like that what he said,
the third commissioner is,
even though you're doing.
yeah,
We see
Sure.
you as a commissioner, that you're doing commissioner's work.
Okay.
Sort of, I don't actually make the
Get more
decision.
than this.
Yeah, I just give them the information and if they like it,
But then I would like what Chairman said right there.
Okay,
Anybody else?
Thank you for all the hard work you guys have put into this.
Yeah.
I watched you, and a special thank you to the gentleman in
Jeff.
front of me here.
yeah,
Uh,
good, Jeff.
that
Thank you,
work,
Jeff.
It's exemplary. And yeah, you put in a lot. Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff, you running for commissioner?
Once upon a time, he and I, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah, not that long ago, but yeah,
It seems like, yeah.
I know.
Okay,
But no, I have a small water system, and so we try to use what I knew and what they knew and try to make a, balance between residential, commercial. It was tough. And there was no nice, easy way, but except to bite the bullet and move ahead.
And as far as this discussion goes, I think it's appropriate. So Ron and Deborah, right? That so we're in the process of acquiring Jeff's water system up there combined with ours. I don't know if you knew that, so he has been in the water system business side of the house for a very long time. So he's been very helpful in us trying to establish policy that's consistent with the regulation as well as practicality, in my opinion, because he's been in the business so long. I just wanted to help you know that. Yeah.
just a little education here too. Commissioners traditionally, what they're supposed to do is set policy, and our executive director is the one that implements them. And, with the thoughts about trying to wait on this, with a new commissioner coming on, I've been at this for 15, 20 years. And even at that, there's a lot of detail that I don't know if a new commissioner could really come in and
Gonna take
make those
time.
kind of decisions other than just what he's got. But there's been a lot of work, a lot of time spent on really honing these details, which is really critical. And I want to thank Jeff and, Travis for nailing some of this down and bringing it more cohesive, because I've looked at some of that water policy and like I said, and it's not really easily read. This is really honed down and gotten to where it's more accessible and understandable. So thank you.
In my defense, the bottom line is, all we're trying to do is make this work, My big push is get the water fund under, the water expenses under the water fund, general fund and the general fund.
Yeah,
Get both funds standing on their own 2 feet.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so and primary push right at the moment is get the water system. So it can be understood by general public as well as be financially viable going into the future.
Mhm.
And when we get to budgets later on, you'll see that.
yeah. And just to tag along on that, so there's gonna be a lot of small. This is a small change, though. It's a big change. It's not really a big change. This is a small
Step.
section of the whole set of policy, and then us moving in the future into adjusting our plan for the port. And so I appreciate the feedback that I got from you, Ron, as well as you, Ken, on what your reasoning is.
Mhm.
But on Judy's point too, it's what we end up doing today is not gonna be, whether we move forward with it or not, it's not gonna change the direction we should be going, what I'm trying to say, because I agree with this. I agree with the adjustments we're making here. There's been a lot of work put into it to help us understand exactly what it is on this resolution that we need to address today. So that's all I can say about that.
I think if I remember correctly, Travis put in we discussed it back and forth, a provision, understanding that we're dropping right in the middle of this, okay? So anything we do is just gonna stir up a lot of issues. I think we can talk to Travis about it, but it was my intent that in this policy, we have the provision that that the public understands, we're coming back to readdress this. This is our best push at this point to get things more in sync with being financially as well as regulatorily responsible.
That is even better said. That's exactly right.
But we're trying, I don't know if it's, I can't remember the resolution, but the intent was to have it open, not closed. I mean, obviously meetings closed and all that, but the board again is gonna be addressing this further
Mhm.
in the next 3 to 4 months, another chunk of it.
Yes,
And if there are issues that we're running into with what was proposed here, it was my intent to get into the resolution that can be addressed. It's not, we're not locking.
Not written in stone.
concrete.
yes.
Yeah. No, I tried to express that plainly in the very first paragraph of the objective of the amendment. That the amendment is the first of several planned implementations of a more thoughtful and cohesive policies and rate adjustments going forward. The amendment and the entire water policy will be reviewed over the next 12 to 24 months, so.
Yeah.
We absolutely, and Barry,
Yeah,
Very,
I
yes.
just- I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
reiterate, I'm really proud of you for doing this. I commend you for doing this at this time, even though it seems to be pulling the reins back a little bit. You're really setting up the system and the supply and everything else for the great benefit of everybody involved. And instead of doing nothing at this time, and 5 years down the road, finding out you've got some really bad problems. It's really right to do it now. Thanks for doing it as just a private water use sort of, I knew that it was not going to be about us, but I really think you're headed in the right direction. Very timely. This is a start, just like you said. Commend you on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Barry. Okay, any more comments before we close the public hearing? Okay, with that being said, we're gonna close the public hearing and then we will reconvene the special meeting. So that will open now. And then we can now,
gonna have to allow public comment before the discussion.
okay. So, well, yes, we'll
Back to
reconvene,
public comment for the special.
yes. I know it's, all
Yeah,
important that we do it in the right order.
yeah, it is.
Now we can have public comment in regard to our
Yeah, that was our.
special meeting. Any other comments before we continue on? No? Okay. Well, discussion about action regarding the resolution.
Now we're back in our special meeting, Brett.
Now we're in our special meeting.
Okay, fair enough. Well, other than the fact that I believe with all the hard work that has been put into this for good reason, that we do need to move forward. And I would recommend that we approve this resolution. I appreciate the input, but there's a lot more work to do. And this is just the beginning, so.
Mhm.
And we will have a third commissioner deal with a whole host of other
Yes,
at some point here very soon.
yes, we will.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-003, and I'm happy to read it.
Sure, go ahead and read it, just
Okay.
for through the order.
Okay,
I think.
Port of Allyn, Washington, resolution number 2024-003. Resolution affirming the amendment 2024 Whiskey Sierra 01 to the Port of Allyn 2018 approved water system plan. Whereas the Port of Allyn Board of Commissioners has duly considered the proposed amendment 2024 Whiskey Sierra 01 to the Port of Allyn 2018 approved water system plan. Whereas amendment 2024 Whiskey Sierra 01 replaces any original policy to the 2018 approved water system plan if applicable. Whereas amendment 2024 Whiskey Sierra 01 to establish, clarify, and better organize residential development rates and developer and engineering requirements within the Port of Allyn's 2018 approved water system plan. Whereas amendment 2024 Whiskey Sierra 01 to establish, clarify 10,000 square foot or less commercial development rates and developer and engineering requirements for the Port of Allyn's 2018 approved water system plan.
Whereas amendment 2024 whiskey 001 to establish, clarify, and 10,001 square feet to 30,000 square feet, commercial development rates and developer and engineering requirements for the Port of Allyn 2018. Approved water system plan, whereas amendment 2024 whiskey 001 to establish, clarify, and better organize both residential and commercial fire sprinkler development rates and developer and engineering requirements within the Port of Allyn 2018. Approved water system plan, whereas amendment 2024 whiskey 001 to establish, clarify, organize commercial water service connection and consumption rates for water system users, consumers with an average daily demand of 1150 gallons per day, 150 cubic feet per day or higher. Whereas amendment 2024 whiskey 001 to establish, clarify, and organize both residential and commercial fire sprinkler water system connection rates. Whereas amendment 2024 whiskey 001 to establish, clarify, and organize both residential and commercial policy for medical clinics and medical facilities with residential patients and staff. I make a motion, we approve this resolution.
There's one. Page 2,
Oh, the other side.
sorry.
Whereas, no, amendment 2024 was 001 to establish, clarify, and organize both residential and commercial policies within existing policies inadequate, incomplete, or non-consistent. Whereas the Port of Allyn Board of Commissioners has discussed and taken public comment at the public hearing today on March 27, 2024, at Port of Allyn main office meeting room here. Now therefore it is hereby resolved as follows. Okay, the Port of Allyn Board of Commissioners has fully considered all amended portions of the previously approved 2018 Washington State Department of Health approved water system plan. Water policy amendment 2024 whiskey 001 is now adopted into effect, held in record at the Port of Allyn main office, posted Port of Allyn website. That will be good to go.
Okay.
Once, if we approve it. So I make
So-
that motion to approve this resolution.
Okay, and I'll second that, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye,
So moved.
now it's in, okay.
You can just
Sign,
wet signature. Yeah.
okay. You have a pen?
Right here.
That one's a pencil. You don't want
Oh.
to use that one. It's a pencil. Yeah, you can use
Oh.
John's. Yeah.
Sorry,
It's all right.
okay.
That would work. Well, no.
There's that, right? And where is,
Here's the thought.
there's the
And
top.
we have a lot more work to do on this note. So
And again, I want to reiterate, thank you, Jeff Carey. Thank you, Travis. Randy, your input as well for the work that you've done. And thank you, Ron and Deborah, for coming and joining us.
I'm gonna get old
And
someday
to-
and need your facility, so we're gonna work this out.
Sign
Yeah.
up today, you get 20% off.
I love it. I do love it.
We got to make this work. You know, you're really valuable to the
And believe
community.
me, we're not against you guys.
No.
Yeah.
No
At
feelings of that
neither are
whatsoever.
we, yeah. Yeah,
The other thing the board should point out, and to address one of Ken's concerns there, is that the port couldn't charge anything for commercial water. Except the one area,
that's a good point. It's true.
and I don't disagree with him that we should, go through the process, but we couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the provision that's in there, you can come back and readdress it if it's not working or it's, whatever.
That's one of the more significant points I should have, yeah, exactly. And we need to move forward, so we can.
I can't pretend like I'm gonna be in the hot seat. Things go
No.
fine.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think,
Budget's at 2:30, right? Are you
Correct,
turned
that's
down
correct.
2:30?
it's
2:30,
2:30. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Is it-
sticking around for that?
Yes.
Okay,
let's-
cool.
Let's stand up.
And thank you, Barry, also. for
All right.
coming.
Right.
So we,
So,
We get back.
okay,
Yeah,
all right,
anytime.
thank you.
thank
So
you,
meeting
Ron. Look
adjourned.
forward more.
Thank you.
Okay.
Always.
Jeff.
Always.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to lower your number. My actual objective is actually get
Oh,
all these rates down, but you can't quite do it.
All right,
Yes,
not
I
yet.
just said, meeting adjourned.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
When we start getting everything we're supposed to get, then we can start looking at that,
Well,
right?
you're gonna have to go probably 2 years before we.
Oh,